used in pop culture these days.
Yeah, and
I mean, honestly,
and it's used to provoke a reaction.
Yeah, but of course your Christians are going to be like, it's satanic, it's evil, which, I mean...
But at the same time, the celebrities that are doing it are trying to provoke you to have that conversation.
Right, and get you talking about them.
Right.
Like,
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith went from being a really good vocalist who done really good songs to getting on stage and drag in a devil costume doing
Little Nas
stupid
X
shit. Yes.
being,
sliding down a pole to hell.
Yeah, and giving
Satan a blowjob.
Yeah,
let's call it what it is. He's blowing Satan.
Lap dance, but same difference. Anyway, he's obsessed with Satan. Anyway, you have, I think, Beyonce's cover of one of her albums. You have, God, what is that fucking terrible rapper's name? She's like a fucking demon in the video.
I don't know. I don't. The only reason I don't know. I know about most of this stuff is because if you have social media, if you have a Facebook, if you have Instagram, if you have Twitter, X, whatever it's called, even if you get on YouTube, all of this stuff is shoved in your face.
Yeah.
And there's always a debate about people who call it out and say that we need God. And there's always people that point out and say, well, you know what? You're going overboard. This is just entertainment. And I think that me personally, I'm kind of in the middle because I don't have any religious views whatsoever, but I also find it very insulting when something is very obvious and you lie about it.
Well, my thing is, I'm not into it because I wouldn't be into it if it was all Jesus stuff, so why the fuck am I going to be into it with all satanic stuff?
Right. Well, my thing is, if you have a satanic thing in your video, right?
Right.
And you come out and say, no, it's not satanic. Well, I mean, if it is, just admit it. Say, is that a satanic sign? Yeah, so what? Like, I would be more, I'd be more like on your side and be like, well, it's autistic freedom, whatever you want to do. But the fact that you try to lie and cover it up is what makes me fucking tell you to go to hell or tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way when it comes to religious stuff. Like, don't beat, me over the head because I don't go to church.
If you're going to show it, fucking show it. I mean,
Right.
Own up to it. Just own up to it. Don't try to deny. See, that's the thing about stuff like this is, if you're going to do it and people point it out and say, see, don't backpedal and say, oh, no, it's just entertainment. Say, yeah, I put it in there. Why? Because you're talking about it. Like, be real with it.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at some of our logos. One of our logos is like the inverted cross with a noose.
Right. Not because we worship Satan, because we think it looks really fucking cool.
Yeah. I got inspiration from a metalcore band or deathcore band called Paleface Swiss. Check them out. They're fucking fantastic. But they use a noose because of the gallows. And if you know anything about Western, culture from back in the day, the gallows is where they hang people and shit like that.
Yep.
And, the inverted cross is just used throughout most of horror movies, it really means nothing. The inverted cross is something that was made up by man. If you go back into the olden times, it was actually a good thing used because some people, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, wanted to be sacrificed upside down because he didn't feel like he was as almighty as Jesus. So that was his way.
Yeah, I know that story as well. Jesus got crucified and he was sentenced to death.
Yeah.
And he did not want to be crucified the same way Jesus is because he
wasn't worthy.
He didn't feel that he was worthy, so he requested to be crucified upside down.
Right.
Now, that was the original meaning of the upside down crucifix. And, of course, people over time has taken that and said, well,
it's evil.
The upside down cross is a sign of witchcraft and evil and devil worshippers and all that, when it was actually created by somebody who was on your side.
Right. So I took the inverted cross and added the noose with it because I think, for me, what it symbolizes is that religion is a death sentence. Period. And that's what it means to me, is that any type of religion that is it's a cult. Look at the definition of a cult.
Yeah.
It's a death sentence. Just period. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it. So therefore, our upside down inverted cross with a noose, that's what it means. It's kind of like a little stab and a wink. Plus, it just fucking looks cool. I thought it looked pretty fucking dope, and I don't use it all the time for all the logos, but
it's like we find it very strange that we're living this life and we're trying to make the best of it, and we're trying to have as much fun and do be successful as possible, and there's other people out here that are living just to die because they feel like another life is going to be better for them.
I'm going to enjoy this life and the next one, if there is one.
But that's just our little 10 cent on that shit.
Yeah, anyway.
Scat!
Watch Nefarious. It's good. What's your number 12?
My number 12 is Knock at the Cabin.
Okay, my number 11 is Knock at the Cabin.
Well, Knock at the Cabin is maybe, I know I've said this before, but it may be my most surprising movie of the year that I liked, because it was made by a director,
Shyamalama Ding Dong,
that I normally don't like. He was one of these directors where I liked his early work very well, with movies like Signs and The Village and stuff like that. They were pretty unique movies, and I thought it was a breath of fresh air that, coming out in the horror community. But over time, he has made movies that have not lived up to anything. They're either boring, or they have so much hype behind them, and it's so disappointing. And he keeps his movies very secretly, and we don't want to reveal. And the last movie I seen by him before Knock at the Cabin was a movie called Old, and I thought that movie was dog shit, and I thought it had the worst fucking dialogue I've ever seen in a movie. Like,
it was pretty atrocious.
It was atrocious. So coming into Knock at the Cabin, I did not have high hopes. We were dreading this. But I think one of the things that really helped this film is I don't think that he directed the film. He just wrote it.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong, but I think that he just wrote the film. I'm not sure, but you'll check on it. Anyway, this movie was different. A lot of things that you said about Nefarious could be said about Knock at the Cabin.
Yes.
With the Dave Bautista's group that shows up at this cabin with these, there's a daughter, and then there's two men who happen to be homosexual in there. And you're thinking, oh, God, these are Jesus freaks that are showing up at the door, and they're messing with these guys because they're gay. That's what you kind of think in the beginning of the film, but you realize that it's much more deeper than that, and this group of people have legitimately had revelations and had I don't know what you see, visions of shit that they
they had visions.
Yeah. And it's a very unique take on that whole end of the world type of deal. It basically tried to say that there's a group of people that know that the end of the world is coming, and they basically sacrifice themselves so the rest of the world can go on and thrive. But if they don't do that, the end of the world will happen.
Yeah,
And that's the basic. That's the basic premise to this film, and it was pulled off very well. A lot of people only know Batista from his Drax role, from Guardians in the Galaxy, which is a very robotic role. Let's face it, it's a robotic role, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So seeing him actually fucking act for the first time is actually a breath of fresh air, and he can act.
He's better. He's probably the best professional wrestler that is now a professional actor.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I think that he's got better range than, let's say, somebody like The Rock, who basically plays the same role in every movie.
Yeah.
This was a opportunity for him to spread his wings and do his acting chops, and honestly, he was probably the best actor in this entire film.
Honestly, yeah, I think he was the best part of this movie. And here's a shocker for you: directed and produced by M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, damn, I thought somebody else directed, but hey, kudos to him. He did a good job with it. Surprised me. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it. It's a good movie. I got it number 12. Obviously, I think highly of it, and it's good.
Same. I've got it pretty high. I told you it was my number 11. I totally agree with you. This was like one of those movies that I was expecting to give me nothing but scat everywhere, and it did the polar opposite. The writing, the directing, the cinematography in this movie was fucking beautiful. Like, you're going back and forth the whole time to figure out if these people are just fucking crazy or they're just doing this to, because they don't agree with the lifestyle that these two men live with this little girl.
Right.
And they pull this off very beautifully. And I love the fact that the twist is, it wasn't a twist.
It wasn't a twist, and the fact that you hear a title like "Knock at the Cabin," you might be thinking like home invasion or type
that's
of
what
deal
I,
like
that's
that.
what I thought,
and it wasn't. It was it was deeper than what we thought it was, and it actually worked. So kudos to that.
Yeah, I thought very highly of this movie. Obviously, it came in at number 11. If you haven't seen it, I think it's on Hulu.
Either might be Max,
Hulu or Max. Anyway,
I can't
seek
remember.
it out. Watch it. It's worth the time. It's up there with some of the best M. Night Shyamalan movies. It might be number 2 on my list, honestly.
Yeah, it's a goodie.
What's your number 11?
Did you do your number 12?
Yeah, number 12 was Nefarious. We just went off on a tangent.
Okay, so that was your number 11. My number 11 to end this is Hell House LLC: The Origins.
Ooh.
The Carmichael Manor.
I got that one up or down, whichever one you want to say.
Yeah, like you said, this one almost made my top 10 because this is the best found footage type of film that I've seen in a long time. And we have a shitload of found footage films. And if you don't know what the Hell House movies is, there's like 3 or 4 of them, and they're all on Shudder. Some of them are actually on Tubi that you can watch for free as well. But they're found footage films, and this is the latest. And the thing about it is, I had never seen any Hell House movies before this. Yeah. And even this being the 4th film, it did not throw me off or confuse me about anything, because actually after I watched this, I went back and watched the ones previous, and they're just as equally as good. But this one is the only found footage type of movie that is on my list. I think.
No, you got VHS.
Yeah, but I had that one way high. This one is number 11, so this tells it's a very significant difference but the gap between the two, that's how much I thought of this movie. This movie is, the atmosphere is great. It's creepy. The story is fantastic.